Well, hello, hello, hello. Much love to you all. May God bless you all. Hit the like button to help get this out. We're going to talk about Jesus walks on water. You find it in John 6, verse 16 through 21. You can pause now to read this, or you can, after the video is over, read it. I'm going to talk about in particular verses, and we're going to break this down. So basically, if you missed the one before this, we talked about the feeding of the 5,000. So here we see in the book of John, just like the other evangelists, Matthew and Mark, except for the book of Luke, John follows the feeding of the multitudes with Jesus walking on the water. In doing so, John is not merely following tradition, but rather reflecting the historical sequence in which the events actually took place. So he probably includes the walking on the water for at least two reasons, because it naturally links to the feeding of the multitude with the discourse of the bread of life discourse, which we will be talking about as well in another study getting ready to come up, the bread of life. And also because it portrays Jesus's private revelation to his own disciples that you can compare to the references to God as I am in Exodus 3, verse 14. We will go to that real quick. It says, "And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am hath sent me unto you." So we see something similar here in John 6, verse 20. So let me go back to John chapter 6, verse 20, where it reads, "But he saith unto them, It is I, be not afraid." So let's now jump a couple chapters ahead in John 8, verse 58, where Jesus said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, before Abraham was, I am. And also, I want to go to chapter 18, verse 5 and 6, where he says, Jesus answered him, or they answered him, Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus saith unto them, I am he. And Judas also, which betrayed him, stood with them. As soon then as he had said unto them, I am he, they went backward and fell to the ground. Isn't that amazing, the power of his voice, that this had happened? Now Mark and Matthew tell us that the disciples thought that Jesus was a ghost when walking on the water. So let's go to Mark 6, verse 49, where they say, But when they saw him walking upon the water, they supposed that it had been a spirit and cried out. Now let's go to Matthew 14. It's funny listening to the different accounts here. Matthew 14, verse 26. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit, and they cried out for fear. So Mark also informs us that they had not understood about the loaves, for their hearts were hardened. Let's go back to Mark chapter 6. Now, this kind of goes with the one we did about the feeding of the 5,000 before this. So I'll put a link to that at the end of this so you can go and rewatch that, or if you haven't watched it. In verse 52, it says, And they considered not the miracle of the loaves, for their heart was hardened. While Matthew adds the episode with Peter in the response of worship when Jesus got into the boat. So let's now go to Matthew 14, verse 33, where it reads, Then they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, Of a truth, thou art the Son of God. So John emphasizes how Jesus' presence calmed the disciples. We see that Matthew and Mark talks about how they were troubled at first, but John emphasizes on they were comforted. I mean, look in verse 20. He said, But he saith unto them, It is I, be not afraid. Then they willingly received him into the ship, and immediately the ship was at the land whither they went. So in short order, Jesus' followers had come from the mountaintop experience of the feeding of the 5,000 with Jesus to the terror of a mighty storm at the sea without Jesus. In case any of them had delusions of anything in their mind, this turn of events would have quickly brought them back down to earth. So, successes tend to breed overconfidence. So this could have been a test from the Lord There was a lot of overconfidence. They were seeing the miracles. So now he was without them, and the sea was crashing around. In fact, sometimes successes are harder to deal with than defeats, if we think about that. And if we don't swell up with pride after a major achievement, we may suddenly feel depressed or at least deflated, like Elijah after his triumph over the prophets of Baal. Jesus' disciples went through many ups and downs. They knew the exhilaration of victory as well as the agony of defeat. Just think of Peter's 3 denials of Jesus and his threefold reinstatement to the service by Jesus. Let's go to John 18. We're going to do 15 through 18, where it says, "And Simon Peter followed Jesus, and so did other disciples. That disciple was known unto the high priest, and went in with Jesus into the place of the high priest. But Peter stood at the door without. Then went out that other disciple, which was known unto the high priest, and spake unto her that kept the door, and brought in Peter. Then saith the damsel that kept the door unto Peter, Art not thou also one of this man's disciples? He saith, I am not. And the servants and officers stood there, who had made a fire of coals, for it was cold, and they warmed themselves, and Peter stood with them and warmed himself." Now look in verse 25 through 27. "And Simon Peter stood and warmed himself. They said therefore unto him, Art not thou also one of his disciples? He denied it, and said, I am not. One of the servants of the high priest asked his kinsman, whose ear Peter cut off, saith, Did not I see thee in the garden with him? Peter denied again, and immediately the cock crew. So now let's go to chapter 21, the end of the book of John. And in verse 15 through 19, where it says, So when they had dined, Jesus saith to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, Feed my lambs. He saith to him again the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, Feed my sheep. He saith unto him a third time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Peter was grieved because he said unto him the third time, Lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Jesus saith unto him, Feed my sheep. Verily, verily, I say unto thee, when thou wast young, thou girdest thyself and walkest whither thou wouldest. But when thou shalt be old, thou shalt stretch forth thy hands, and another shall gird thee, and carry thee whither thou wouldest not. This he spake, signifying by the death he should glorify God. By what death he should glorify God. And when he had spoken this, he saith unto him, Follow me. So, like the disciples, we must learn to weather the storms of our life as well as to enjoy the sunshine while it lasts. Above all, we must learn to trust Jesus' presence with us as we seek to follow him. I want to read Matthew 28, verse 20. Matthew 28, verse 20, where it says, Teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you, and lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. Amen. Meanwhile, the crowds, hungry for more, hotly pursued Jesus. And that's where we'll get into the bread of life discourse on our next teaching. Much love to you all. May God bless you all. And don't forget to hit the like button. If you like videos like this, hit the like button and subscribe. Much love to you all. And may God bless you.